Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Aaron McCann.
Just about joining you today, I would say.
You're here in essence, basically.
I am, yeah.
You're a fucking top lad for being here right now.
Yeah, here. No worries, mate. You know, I keep to my word. You know what I mean?
I do. I appreciate that. We're recording this on the last day of Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
We have both been run through the ringer emotionally, physically, spiritually.
The whole thing is just a big mental health endurance event, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh my God, dude.
From start to finish. It's an absolute roller coaster.
You've done Fringe before this?
I've done 2 Fringes before this, but both very different in terms of the first one was just like spots at different kind of comp shows. Mm-hmm. So almost zero pressure, zero pay as well.
Right.
And then the next year was like me and my friend doing a split show, half an hour each.
Okay.
So, but the leap from half an hour to an hour here is absolutely insane.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it? What do you think it is? What's the X factor?
Just that extra like slog. If you're not in it or the audience isn't in it, I think half an hour, you can kind of glide through it. Mm-hmm. You're like, right, let's just get this out of the way. But if you're like 10 minutes deep and they're not giving you anything, and you're like, we have 15 minutes of this shit to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's terrible. Like,
It's a lot.
it's never fun to die, but dying for an hour is an art in itself, I think. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's one night that there's like 2 nights that I really, really had bad bombs out here.
Yeah.
And I am just, for my own sanity's sake, I'm going to not listen back to those sets.
Yeah. I would say the same. I had like about 2, like real bad. Like, yeah. I had like one of the worst sets. I think I had the worst gig of all time out here.
Yeah.
At Frankenstein's.
Oh, man.
Because there was like 5 people there, but like Frankenstein's, as you know, is like, it's a big room, but it was like each individual person sat as far away from each other as they could. So it was just like
They're all there by themselves.
yeah, it's like I'm working 5 rooms at the one time here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I had the worst gig I had in my own running my hour was the busiest night of my show too. I had like 30, 40 people show up, and I was telling Aaron before this, my crowds averaged pretty much like 10 to 12 the whole time out here. And so it was like a Friday night. I was like, this is going to be great. This is fantastic. And I started, and my opening joke didn't work. And then from there, I'm like, uh-oh. Because sometimes the opener doesn't work because it's a little corny, but it works because it's a good joke for the most part. And people are like, oh, okay. But if it doesn't work, I'm usually like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And sometimes I can pull out of it, and I just could not pull out of it that night.
It's weird. Crowd size is a secondary factor. Mm-hmm. Like usually it's what kind of mood are the people that are in your show in. Mm-hmm. People who are 8 to 12, like if you have 8 to 12 people in, but they're all kind of like, they've been drinking and they're like, right, we're just gonna have a bit of fun here.
Yeah.
And like they're really up for it. That's way better than like 30 people who are just like very pedestrian and they're just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd much rather have that. I'd much rather have 8 to 12 people in who I can at least connect with and who I'm having a good time with.
Absolutely.
Than a large crowd of people who are not into what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
So
you're just like, yeah, none of you here like me. So let's just see if any of you walk out, or if I'm going to do this whole hour, and we're gonna go through this. You know?
I know. Amazingly enough, I didn't walk anybody that night. I've walked a handful of people over the course of the run, but that night everybody stayed. It was. I remember at one point I was saying like, did you guys get sent here by my parents to torture me to like try and get me to quit and move back in with them?
I had a girl yesterday that like left like very early into the show, but it was like right on a punchline, and I was like, is she walking out because that like, you know, got to her or what? And then she left, and I was like, let's time her to see if she's taking a piss or if she's taking a shit. And she came in halfway through the next joke, and I was like, yeah, it was definitely a shit. The whole audience like burst out laughing as she walked in, and I was like, that's definitely gonna probably like emotionally scar her or something. You know, she's gonna like be talking about that to a therapist at some stage. Like I just walked into a room and everybody was laughing, and I had no idea why. Yeah, but
That's very well. Hey, that's the power we have as comedians. We
Exactly.
will ruin you
Yeah.
if you do anything to harm us during a show. Well, I appreciate you. You're a real trooper. I'm glad we're getting this in, especially because we're talking about a movie that's like in a new genre that I like, horror movies, specifically Final Destination.
yeah,
Which is not a good horror movie.
no.
What's your beef with Final Destination? Lay it on me.
I just remember like first. How did I first see it? I remember like watching it at a friend's house, and like him being like, "This is crazy. This is insane." Like it was like the equivalent of like, you know, before you had smartphones, and it was like people had fucked up videos, but they would send them to each other on Bluetooth.
Yes.
And they're, you know, I was
Yeah.
like, this is a movie version of this. This is just really fucked up things happening. People dying. You've no like investment in anybody who's in the movie.
Right.
And some of those fucking death scenes, I think I seen way too young because they've stayed with me.
Oh, which ones?
Like there's one where one of the girls is like in an elevator in a lift, and she like goes to leave, and her head gets stuck in the elevator, and the elevator just keeps on going up, and then eventually her head just comes off her body, and her son is there like watching the whole thing.
Oh, God.
And I was like, that is fucking insane.
So, have you seen the entire Final Destination franchise? Have you watched all of the movies?
So here's the thing. This is why this is perfect for movies that you love to hate, because I've watched every single one of them.
Why?
Which I don't think would happen for any other. I don't think that would happen for anything else. Like if I hated a musician, I wouldn't listen to every single one of their albums. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, I get that.
But for some reason, with this movie, I was like, this is so bad that if I don't watch this, I'm gonna feel like I'm missing out on something.
Right. You know, I mean, I kind of get that. I mean, so I watched the first one, and I've seen a couple death scenes from the other ones. If you haven't caught up, by the way, Final Destination. Oh, I'm on the franchise page on Facebook on Wikipedia. They have a whole franchise page. In the original Final Destination, it's a 2000 American supernatural horror film directed by James Wong. It stars Devon Sawa and Ali Larter. Devon Sawa plays a teenager who cheats death after having a premonition of a catastrophic plane explosion. He and several of his classmates leave the plane before the explosion occurs, but death later takes the lives of those who were meant to die on the plane.
That's right, because every Final Destination movie has that intro, like scene where they all do cheat death.
Right. It's a classic.
Like I think, and it's like you know what's happening every time. I think that's one of the reasons you watch it is to see what the intro death scene is gonna be.
Well, I mean, I watched before I even saw this movie. I'd watched for sure the one from Final Destination 2, where it's the highway pileup.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, dude getting blasted in the face by a log.
Classic.
And, oh my God. Motorcycle guy getting set on fire. Crazy shit going on.
Honestly, that is not too far off the Northern Ireland road safety advertisements.
Really?
Like I don't know if you know this, but
No.
like we are famous for how fucked up our like road safety advertisements are.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a company called the DOE, and they have like their advertisements are like, this should not be shown on TV. Like, and the most recent one they made is like, I think they were getting away with it for quite a bit because like people didn't like, back in the day, if something was fucked up on TV, people didn't like meme it until it was literally taken as like a complete joke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they did this one where it was like a school trip, and it was a bunch of kids, and it was to promote like against drink driving. and they go to this like trip in a forest. There's like 20 kids with 2 teachers.
Oh, this already sounds like it's going to be a disaster.
This guy has a few pints, and he's like, you know, nothing of it. Surely nothing bad will happen. And he's driving home, and on his way, the car just completely totals and rolls over all 20 kids. And then it's like, never, ever drink and drive in this terrifying accent. You know what I mean? And it's literally just like, well, that's the rest of my evening fucked up now.
Man.
Yeah.
We didn't have crazy ads. Like, I mean, the US, all of the like the anti-drinking. I don't even know if I've ever seen an anti-drinking ad on television. I've seen a lot of anti-smoking ads on TV.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, the famous ones from the 80s, like, this is your brain on drugs. And it's the egg frying. We did have this thing at my school. I forget what it was called, but it was one of these like really... It was a Mothers Against Drunk Driving thing, and there was a day when we basically got an announcement came on over the speakers at our school and the PA system. They were like, everybody, there's been an accident. Go outside. And we all had to leave and go outside, and they had staged a car accident.
Jesus Christ.
Because of drunk drivers. And so there were people... And
so they made you think this was...
I mean, we knew it was coming. Like, it was a whole, like, drunk driving theme week.
Fucking insane.
There was one thing we had... There's another day that week. It was a really weird week. There's another day that week because they were like, so one person dies from a drunk driving accident every, 15 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
So every...
That statistic stayed with you?
Every 15 minutes, they would pull somebody out of class and then put makeup on them to make them look like they were dead.
What?
And and that person wasn't allowed to talk for the rest of the day. But they still had to be at school.
They're definitely downplaying the severity of death there. You
Yeah.
know? It's like, yeah, you're not allowed to talk for the rest of the day. But when you actually die, you'll never get to talk ever again.
I know. And you also won't have to be at school also.
Absolutely.
Like, at least give them the day off.
Yeah, this is worse than death. Because I can't commute. I'm like a fucking ghost, but I'm still in this shithole of a school learning about fractions.
Fucking public school, man.
Yeah.
It's weird.
We had a thing too where it was like this like traveling it was anti-drugs, but it was like this traveling like theater group.
Okay.
And I feel like people, when they try to make anti-drug, anti-alcohol, whatever advertisements, they need to hire people who are in the demographic that they're trying to appeal to as writers.
Right.
Because they always write it, by the time you're writing something like that, you're too late in the age for who you're trying to appeal to. Mm-hmm. So for example, I remember there was like this play, and it was like a standard like house party setting, right?
Okay.
And one of the guys is like, "Come on, Andy, take a wee line, lad. Take a wee line, lad." And the guy's like, "No, man, I don't really want to do that stuff." And he's like, "Andy, don't be a square." And I was like, "Bro, if someone offered me drugs and then if I didn't and they called me a square, I'd be like, well, you're the real fucking loser here for saying square." You know?
I always say square ironically.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Get your shit together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their program is all fucked up. Okay, so Final Destination. This movie, it comes out in 2000. Mm-hmm. It's a financial success. Like, wild financial success.
Yeah.
It made more than 5 times its budget back at the box office.
That's insane.
And started a franchise. And it's not good. Like, it got mixed reviews. I've never seen Devon Sawa in a movie before. I read about him in like Nickelodeon magazine growing up. I was a subscriber to Nickelodeon magazine.
Nice.
I was avid. I read every issue.
I honestly did not know Nickelodeon had a magazine, so there you go.
Yeah, well, they don't anymore. They went out of business because they lost good readership from kids like me because we aged out. It's not fucking cool to read Nickelodeon magazine when you're 15 years old walking out to the assembly watching your dead friends.
Yeah, it's for squares.
Yeah, it's for squares. So I started watching this movie having the knowledge of, okay, well, there's all these cool death scenes that happen at the beginning of these other movies. You know, like the third one is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I forget what the fourth one is. Do you remember what the fourth one is?
I can't remember, no.
I think it's got to be like a train accident. Oh, no. It's the racetrack.
Oh, fuck yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a NASCAR race.
Yeah,
and the
that's exactly what it
stadium
is.
collapses.
Yeah.
which is, I think I actually have watched all the death opening scenes for the Final Destination movies on YouTube. And then the fifth one is a bridge collapse.
They escalate more and more each time. Mm-hmm. Like I remember. I think I seen remember seeing the roller coaster one and being like, "Holy shit!"
The roller coaster
genuinely put fear into me of going on a roller coaster. Yeah,
yeah. But this movie, the pacing's weird. Like I feel like in all the other Final Destination movies, it seems like you know what you're getting into, so they get into the actual death sequence pretty quick.
Yeah.
It takes like 15 minutes before anything violent or crazy happens.
This is for the first one?
For the first one.
Okay.
And it's just Devon Sawa and like a bunch of shitty high schoolers and freaking out, but they're all fine, and he's just like, you know, he notices things like expiration date.
Yeah.
And you know, they're like, your birthday is the same as your departure time. And he's like, what? And then he sees like
Your departure time.
Yeah, exactly. He sees he goes, departure.
Yeah.
And everybody is like, he's just sweating bullets on this plane. And then the whole plane shit happens. And it's not even that cool of a sequence. It's pretty lame compared to some of what they do later on. Like I feel like they really didn't expect this to take off as a movie. I think they were just going to write it off, because they didn't put hardly any time and effort into making the actual first death scene very cool.
Yeah.
All the other movies, it's a ballet, man. It's beautiful. It's so choreographed. It's genuinely terrifying watching something like the highway crash.
Absolutely.
But this is just like, okay. The wiring freaks out. People, the airplane, oh no, the airplane's shaking. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
People got sucked out of the airplane. Uh-oh, the airplane's on fire. Oh, it's a dream? Oh, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no like...
Classic dream sequence.
There's classic, but there's no like violent death.
Yeah.
I came here expecting a lot of violent deaths.
Yeah. I feel like, to be fair, I feel like it's ironic that I hate this movie so much, because, again, I've seen them all, but then also I should know what I'm getting into when I watch a Final Destination movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Why do you keep going back to them? You just feel like you're going to miss out? I get some FOMO?
I feel like it's definitely the death scenes. I'm like, I want to see, like, how fucked up are they able to go with, you know, a movie that's being shown in theaters, you know? Mm-hmm. And often more than not, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is fucking insane, genuinely terrifying. There are deaths in those films that are in the same area of my brain that I remember my postcode, my bank account number, like my passwords for Facebook. Like they'll crop up every like couple of weeks, and I'll be like, oh fuck yeah, that's
deep
insane.
and ingrained.
Yeah. Have you ever had a Final Destination type like, fuck, I might die here?
Oh man. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think of like, I've definitely had moments where I was like, very on edge.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit paranoid, so I like to, when I'm in a restaurant or something, I like to sit in places where I can see all the entrances and exits.
Yeah.
We had the night of the shooting at the Comedy Store. I was there.
Whoa! I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, you never heard about this?
What happened there?
So there was, oh man, a number of years ago, because it was right after I started working there. So it was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it was on a Tuesday night. We used to have used to be the show there, and it was that show just let out. It was a main room show, and roast battle was going on upstairs. I was battling that night. I was battling good old Kim Congdon. Mm-hmm. Shout out Kim. And all of a sudden, like there's somebody at some point did a joke that didn't work, and Jeff Ross goes like, "Oh, come on, guys! It's not like it's not like anybody got shot." And then after that, the battle ends, and then all of a sudden, the security guy comes up and he's like, "Everybody needs to stay here. There's been a shooting outside." And we're like, "What the fuck?" And there was a cross country gang hit where Crips from New York had like sent a guy to take out a hit on somebody who had seen the main room show.
Can I just say, this whole thing sounds like a Final Destination intro scene?
Yeah,
the whole thing sounds like that.
It was like, because that was the first moment where I was like, oh, this, because nobody knew what was going on after that. Nobody knew if there was going to be anything else. Nobody knew if there was going to like second shoot or something. But after that, we did a whole lot of like active shooter drills and training. So there have been moments at the store post that where some shit goes down and I'm like, oh, this is going to go, shit's going to go down. Stuff is going to get very bad.
Yeah.
Like I've had to stop 2 people who walked up on stage at the store while somebody was performing in the main room and like get them off the stage.
Because you think there's an active shooter?
Not because I think there's an active shooter, but because like that's one of the most dangerous things that you can do. Well, it's getting on stage and while someone else is performing, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know if this guy has a gun or a knife or something.
Well, it's whenever you think about it, it's kind of insane. Like because, like, so for my venue, for example, like there's the front of house staff and there's whatever, but there's no security. Mm-hmm. So like if something does go AWOL and like some guy who's unhinged just like wants to come at me, I'm fucked, and the whole audience is gonna get to see it. You know what I mean?
What a show.
Yeah, what a show that would be.
I wonder if somebody has to have done that for a Fringe show where they stage themselves getting murdered by somebody. I
literally was just having that stream of thought as I said that. I was like, imagine if you did a show where the whole thing was just a social experiment. Mm-hmm. But you couldn't do that in today's age because it would be like you would get one show out of it and then people would be tweeting, Facebooking, whatever about it.
You'd have to do it as a one-off, or you'd have to get somebody. Oh man, yeah, that's the thing. Everybody would talk about it. It's the only thing you could do it like 20 years ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could have made a killing doing it 20 years ago, but no, not so much.
Man,
not so much.
One of these days, somebody's got to figure out how to do it.
But yeah, that is insane because that ironically sounds like a Final Destination intro. Like, the comedian made like an ironic statement about the fact that like there's nobody's got shot,
right?
And then immediately someone gets shot.
That's the thing. Like and now like going into rickety buildings and stuff like. Speaking of rickety buildings, so the Comedy Store, right? The Comedy Store, you've been there. It's got like that staircase out back that feels like it's going to fall apart at any second. There was a night that the building actually almost caught on fire, and Luke Schwartz put it out in time because a neon light sparked and set the thing off, which also feels very Final Destination-y.
That is very Final Destination. They should do the next Final Destination and throw scene at the Comedy Store.
They totally should. I think it'd be real good for them. A good departure from, hey, let's just have like a whole giant disaster. No, let's make it small again. Let's make it happen on a plane. What about you? Have you been in any kind of like weird Final Destination-y death scenes?
There's been a couple of like, I think there's been once or twice on a plane where I've been like, that's a lot of turbulence, and like kind of been like, yeah, it doesn't really matter, does it? And then been thinking like, fuck, what if this is it? Like, and then kind of like going through all that in my head and being like, well, and then I just watch like BoJack Horseman or something on the plane. I just like kind of. I think that's like me. I think that's like acceptance of death is like
watching BoJack Horseman.
When you're just like fuck it, I'll just like crank out a TV series. Yeah, if the thing goes down, it goes down. Like
I still got to finish Veep. Why not? Well, listen, we're going down as it is. They got the whole 8th season on here. I'll give it a whirl. So the thing with this movie, the original Final Destination, and I imagine that it's probably similar for the rest of them. The acting is the worst part about the whole movie. Yeah. People are not coming to see this movie for the acting.
No.
People are coming to see it for the death.
Yeah.
And it shows because they cast really bad actors.
Yeah.
Like this movie, I don't really have a huge problem with this movie. It's certainly not a good movie. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
It's pretty middle of the road to edging a little bit towards bad. But imagine how much better this movie would be if they actually had gotten some pretty decent actors to be in it.
It would be a game changer, I think, yeah. Absolutely.
Because everybody's reading these lines in the movie like they're not actually afraid of anything.
Yeah.
They're just literally just talking like we're talking right now. And they're like, oh no, the car's going to explode.
The plane of the roof has came off. Okay.
We all have to get off this plane right now.
A bolt has just came off the roller coaster. So, yeah, absolutely.
The logs, they're going to come unchained. Get off of this exit right now. It's bad. And And in this movie, they have like the only person who's actually decent in it is a guy, the guy who plays the mortician, who comes back in 2 other Final Destination movies. How they didn't bring him back for all the other Final Destination movies is fucking beyond me, because he's great. Because he's like spooky and a little like, he's just like, listen, you gotta, hey, death's got a plan for you guys.
Yeah.
And he's so weird, and he's in the morgue while they're watching their friend, and they're also just like, yeah, this guy's my best friend, but this isn't him anymore. He killed himself. Oh no. And then this guy comes in, he's like sucking blood off of his finger or whatever the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
Totally in a different movie from these 2 kids. I wish everybody who's in this movie was at least playing it with that level of intensity as that guy was.
Absolutely.
I'm just so disappointed.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just actually remembered that character as you were talking about it there. The mortician.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a bit of a gem in the film, I think.
Right. And I think horror movies don't have to be bad.
No.
They don't. Do you like horror movies sort of generally? Or they're not really for you?
It's, to me, right, I feel like, right, so the objective of a horror movie is, so a comedy is like, right, main thing, it could be a good storyline, it could have good acting, but it has to make you laugh.
Right.
That's the objective of the genre. You know, thriller has to at some point make you feel suspense. So a horror movie has to at some point make you feel scared. And for some reason, with horror movies, there's this weird thing that happens to me where I can't take my brain out of the fact that no matter how intense it's getting or how like scary it could be, in my head I go, yeah, but at some point here the guy went, stop, right, we gotta do that again, you gotta run through the forest again, but when you fall this time, can you make it look like your leg is broken instead of just like a light hobble? Come on, like, you know, let's work together here, team. You know what I mean? I always think about that in my head. So there's been very few horror movies that have actually like got me, and usually it's like, I think Paranormal Activity was a big shifter in terms of like a lot of horror movies from then on was like the kind of like jumping scaring, as opposed to like when you had things like Freddy Krueger where it's like, oh yeah, they're trying to like fucking make you scared to go to sleep,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas like Final Destination is kind of like, it's almost, it only doesn't scare you, it's almost comical.
Yeah.
Like, you care so little about the fucking characters that you're like, I wonder how this cunt's gonna die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And some of the death scenes are they're so like it would never happen in real life. It's like, it's borderline like snuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the scene that I was referring to earlier, where the woman gets her head caught in the elevator door, and then the elevator goes up, and she just gets fucking decapitated.
Right.
In real life, right? First of all, elevator door probably won't close on you that tight,
No.
right? It'll probably open again straight away. And then as it's going up, it's definitely not going with enough force to take your fucking head off your shoulders.
Not. You're going to break the elevator if that happens.
You're going to fuck up the elevator.
Yeah.
More than it's going to fuck you up for sure.
But this movie, that's the thing. It's like, it's a death parade. It's all it is. And it's not scary.
Yeah.
I hate that this is classified as a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's barely... the thing in this, like, on this franchise's Wikipedia page was like, the series is noteworthy among other films in the horror genre in that the antagonist is not a stereotypical slasher or another physical being, but death personified. That doesn't make it scary.
No. In fact, it actually makes it way harder because there's no build up to anything. It's like, it just means like with Scream, which I think is one of the very few that's like totally nailed it, especially for its time, where it's like, yeah, you have this guy like who's unhinged and nobody knows who he is, and the whole like build up of the movie is trying to figure out who it is, where the whole build-up of Final Destination is if they're actually able to somehow defeat something that nobody can see, hear, or, you know.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it just feels very silly in that regard.
Yeah, they're all doomed.
Yeah.
You know they're all going to die.
Yeah.
There's no... I'm okay with a movie that has a bleak ending, but a horror movie cannot end like that. A horror movie, at least somebody has to win.
Yeah.
And in the whole franchise, nobody wins.
But they replicate the ending every single time. Mm-hmm. The exact same thing happens.
Yeah.
Where it's like the characters think they've got over on death, and then they all die at the end anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just that shit makes me so mad.
I just don't like any franchises that have formulas, like where you're like, right, so this is what they do in the intro, there'll be a bit of build up, yada yada yada. Oh, at the very end, they all die regardless.
Right.
And it's like, that's every Final Destination movie. So why the fuck am I watching 5 in a row? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Did you see all of them in theaters?
No. It was I think I seen one in theaters, the number 3. And then the rest, like, just kind of like watched, but like what I'm getting out of watching it, like what I'm actually watching it for, I can see in a fucking Watch Mojo video.
Yeah, you can go
like
on Live Leak and watch whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, top 10 like Final Destination fucking death scenes or whatever they have. Like that's it's just weird that the whole movie is centered around people going like, I wonder how they're gonna kill people this time. You
Right.
know?
Well, I mean, if you watch the trailers for any of the movies, you figure it out. Because they show basically all the death scenes in the trailers, or at least like the thing that happens right before somebody dies.
That's interesting.
Like, I remember when Final Destination 3 came out, I watched the trailer for it, and it's got the roller coaster scene in there.
Yeah.
And it's got the dude whose heads get crushed by the weights.
Yes.
That's in there.
That's
and
insane.
Like, the girl who gets cooked alive in the tanning bed, that's in there.
That's another one of those ones where it's up there. This is in my cache in my fucking brain.
I've seen the one on YouTube. That one is gnarly.
Yeah.
But like,
It's a lot.
oh God.
It's a fucking lot.
I just don't. Who gets cast in a Final Destination movie and is like, oh, I'm so proud to be a part of this great franchise? God, fuck.
How often do you think like the people that were in that, like, you know, they'll like play their death scene or something at like an after party or something? You know, I always think about that, like people who are involved in like really weird shit. Like, do their friends constantly roast them about it and shit like that?
They have to.
Like the girl who was in that lift scene, the elevator scene.
Mm-hmm.
Do her friends, if she ever goes in the elevator, go, "Oh, watch out, Jenna. You know what you're like."
Oh,
They just have like really shit banter amongst themselves.
she always has to take the stairs, or else
Yeah.
her friends are going to give her so much shit. That's that's just. It really bothers me that this movie is as mediocre as it is, and it's gotten so successful.
Yeah.
I think that
Do you feel like it could have been brilliant though? Do you feel like it could have been, like you mentioned, the casting? Do you really think that if they cast better actors, that it would have been much more like respected as a franchise?
Maybe. I don't. That's the thing. I feel like this is a movie that shouldn't have been a franchise because. But here's the other flip side of that: is like if the movie's not a franchise, then we don't get montages of death scenes that we can watch on YouTube later on. Mm-hmm. Because the opening death sequences are the best part of the entire series.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's very, very strange how. The best part of I can't think of any other movies that are like this. The best part of the movie is the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. The closest that we get to that and anything else is Up by Pixar.
Yeah.
Because it's the saddest short
Oh my
film of all time.
fucking God.
Right?
Yeah, I need to be in a good place to watch that movie. I can't have anything going on in my life whatsoever. It just fucks me up, that intro scene.
Brutal, man.
Absolutely brutal.
Oh,
great
man.
movie, though.
Great
what a
movie.
Fucking great movie.
But I would rather watch that first 10 minutes and then the whole rest of the movie than any Final Destination movie where I watch the first 10 minutes and then, oh, okay, well, I got what I came for. Mm-hmm. I'm out. I'm set.
The intro is like, it's almost like movie clickbait. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, oh, you like all this shit, and then it's just this very mediocre dialogue between characters that you have no investment in.
Yeah.
There's always like a really arrogant one too, who's like trying to like take on death, like physically in some way or something.
Yeah.
There's always like a dude who's like super heated about it.
Mm-hmm. In the first one, it's the dude. I think his name's Cameron in the movie, and he's got the girlfriend, and he's like as soon as they get off the plane, as they get kicked off the plane, he immediately like punches Devon Sawa in the face. And he's like, we're supposed to go to France. We're going to miss half a day. Just after the teacher's like, we're going to miss 3 hours. We're getting in 3 hours after the other flight is. Clearly can't do math. So fucked in the head. But then also he has to like watch his girlfriend get hit by a bus in front of him.
Yeah.
And I guess just explode.
Yeah. There's a lot
happens.
There's a lot of explosion deaths. Like people just their bodies just completely exploded.
Just blood splatter everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Even in this first one, there's a hint of interesting to it, where they have the whole FBI investigation that comes in, and they're like, "Listen, did you do this? Are you a terrorist?"
Which is hilarious. Imagine like getting the FBI to come in and like investigate a spirit. You know,
just to come in for ghosts.
Like we have to get the government involved in this. Like it's so crazy.
By the way, it's extremely pre 9/11. This movie,
yeah,
it came out in 2000, and the major thing that happening is a plane blowing up. There's no way this movie is ever. Yeah. This franchise would not exist if they had delayed the production to actually like make it a good movie.
Yeah,
they had to cast bad people and rush it out. Because you know what? I bet the person who directed this movie had a premonition of 9/11 happening.
9/11 was gonna happen.
And he was like, okay, listen, this movie is going to be the thing that saves my entire career and makes all of us a whole bunch of money, but we have to do it immediately. No questions. Just cast whoever's available. Don't ask any questions, please.
Do you think, this is so fucked up, do you think there was anybody on the 9/11 plane who had like a Final Destination premonition and they're like, dude, stop being so ridiculous. What the fuck?
Oh my God, I fucking bet. That's what we really need all along. We need like a United 93 Final Destination crossover.
So guys, we have to get off this plane. They're like, shut the fuck up, Toby. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, Mark Wahlberg, he had the reverse one where he was like, I should have been on those planes. I could have taken down those terrorists if only I was on those planes.
Mark Wahlberg said that?
Yeah, you never heard about that interview?
No.
Yeah, he did that interview, I think, around the time the last Transformers movie was out that he was in. So like 4 years ago, maybe.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was like, if I was on 9/11, those planes wouldn't have hit the World Trade Center. Because I would have kicked those terrorists' ass.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Wait, sorry. This occurred. There's a comic I know who probably had a Final Destination-y situation involving 9/11. Do you know Keith Carey?
Yes.
Okay. So Keith, famously, thanks to things we found out from watching Keith do Roast Battle, Keith was supposed to be on one of the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center on 9/11. But he, for some reason, the family didn't make the plane.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of jokes that people have made, like in the vein of I think Robin Tran said this one. It was like Keith was supposed to be on one of the planes that hit the World Trade Center on 9/11, which is terrible because he's responsible for the deaths of the two people who took his seats.
That's so fucked up.
It is.
That's amazing, though.
But that's like if you put a movie together, if you put a Final Destination movie with a guy like Keith as your lead, just some dude who's just like he's smoking cigarettes and he's just like, oh fuck all this,
yeah.
And he figures out, and he's like likable,
yeah.
And all of his friends are like they figure out how to escape death and do it in a way that doesn't feel just bad and just boring.
If they did this movie today, do you think it would be even half as successful?
No, I don't think so.
If they, I honestly think that, again, these films, most of them came out before, I don't think people give enough credit to how much memes can destroy, any work of, any art whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
If Final Destination came out in 2019, people would destroy it. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I think how they get away with a lot of stuff is that people saw it kind of growing up and stuff, and they have it kind of locked in as memories of them and their friends watching fucked up death scenes and being like, oh, we shouldn't be seeing this. But if it came out now, at the age I am now, I would be like, even more furious about this movie. I'd
Yeah.
be like, this is so fucking dumb.
See, that's the thing. Like, I mean, yeah, growing up, this is we're in the dawn of the internet, right? And the dawn, and that's the dawn of like all the fucked up parts of the internet too, like 4chan.
Absolutely.
And there's all the websites, awful.com or something like that,
Yeah.
where it was just like literally only pictures of dead people. Like I've seen so many pictures of people just like who got decapitated because they like jumped on they tried to hop a fence and their neck got caught in the fence and then they like got impaled or some shit like that.
You will not see any worse. Like, you will not see a collection of worse shit than the WhatsApp group of like middle-aged men who are builders.
I believe that 100%.
It is the most fucked up shit that I've ever seen has been from my older older friends, like say early 40s, something like that. For some reason, I'm like, why the fuck is this like circulating? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even like. Why do you have videos saved in your phone? You fucking weirdo. Like, it's like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's not like you got a Sony Ericsson Walkman anymore. It's so strange.
I got a friend of mine who still watches live leak videos.
That's so strange to me.
Like I remember he asked me like what drawn and quartered meant, and I was like, it's when somebody like when they type somebody across their limbs. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch this video of a guy getting drawn and quartered by pickup trucks, and I was like, why?
That's insane.
Why would you want to do that
Yeah.
to yourself?
Yeah, why do you want to consume that form of media? I judge that kind of heavy. It's like people who have custom ringtones in 2019.
Yeah,
You're just like, what? You're a serial killer.
just stick to the defaults, man.
You went to an app. You were like, I love this song, and then you picked a section of that song to play when someone calls you. It's absolutely insane.
This movie, I don't think it could be good. Not like at the end of the day.
Do you think they'll make another Final Destination?
Nah, I think it seems like they wrapped up the franchise pretty tight with the fifth one, based on what I was reading.
Yeah.
where it ends with the plane crash from the first movie.
Oh yes, that's true. Yeah.
Right, so it's a neat little circle. The snake ate its own tail.
Yeah.
Death caught up to everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's on the remake chopping block. Nobody's gonna see the Final Destination franchise and be like, oh, we got to remake this. They're too busy figuring out how to remake all the actual like nice parts of our childhood right now.
Yeah.
They're not gonna remake the thing that people were just like, all right, well, I guess I'll go see this.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go watch a bunch of young hot people get murdered.
Yeah.
I will say the best part of this movie was Sean William Scott, who's great and goofy and bumbling, and then also literally is like, I'm not gonna let death catch me. You guys are crazy, and then gets decapitated.
Yeah, he's the guy I was referring to earlier, where it's like there's at least one character in every one of them who's like, fuck this, we don't have to, you know,
Yeah.
and then
Gets violently.
yeah,
Well, I do really want to watch the rest of the franchise now. I mean, it did its job.
yeah,
Fuck, this movie is clickbait.
it is clickbait. It literally is. It's like now, if they released one next week, would I go see it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd go see it.
Absolutely.
100%.
And that's why I think this is a really interesting one, because although I do think the movie is bad, I don't necessarily hate it, because I know that I would watch it.
It's kind of comforting.
It is.
It's like it's just like background noise. You
Yeah.
know? Like sometimes I watch Kitchen Nightmares on loop just to hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at people.
Yeah.
This is a different variation of that, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. Oh, this is really cool. It took them so long to figure out how to make all these deaths happen.
Yeah.
Huh. It's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can just like, oh, I can tune in. Oh, he's getting his head crushed by a bunch of weights in a gym.
Yeah.
All right, back to this essay that I have to finish writing.
Yeah.
Back to my construction job.
Yeah.
Aaron, dude, this has been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I finally had an excuse to watch a full version of a Final Destination movie, not just montages from Watch Mojo's YouTube channel.
I'm glad I could be of service to that.
If the listeners are interested in you, which they should be, because you're great, where can they find you?
that you can find me on Instagram at McCann Comedy, MCCANN, Facebook, Aaron McCann Comedy, or Aaron McCann Comedy if you're not American. And dude, I had that for so long in LA where it was like everyone was calling me Aaron. And you just kind of have to accept it. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. And then I remember coming home from LA and introducing myself to somebody and being like, oh, how's it going? My name's Aaron. And they're like, oh, you Californian fucking piece of shit.
You got turned.
Yeah, people from Northern Ireland won't let you away with shit. But yeah, you can find me on there. And yeah, this has been a pleasure.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. And if you like the podcast, tell a friend, subscribe, and join the Facebook group. All that good stuff. It's a fun place to talk about movies. Yay.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.